Hi, my name's Gopal and I'm half English and half Indian. When people have come up to me in the past, I've had a lot of different races assigned to me. Like it always baffled me because some people would call me like Spanish or Mexican. And I was like, that's so far from where I am. People usually generally get that I'm like Asian, so probably like Sikh. I have a lot of people come up and they say Sastrikal, which is the Sikh greeting. But not many people think that I'm mixed race. I think not many people realize that there's a mix there. I think a lot of people just assume that I'm a light-skinned Indian person, or that I've had some people like had a couple people ask that if I'm Steve Aoki in clubs. I know, and it's just the hair and like some vaguely Asian-looking features. But Steve Aoki's like, I'm not sure where he's from, but he's like East Asian. You know what I mean, like Far East. I think when people misplace my identity, I'm not so affected by it because I don't see my identity as like massively part of me, my racial identity. I mean, like I'm me, and I show people who I am. And I've often had times where people maybe I've felt. I mean, I obviously don't want to put lenses onto people's behavior, but I've definitely had times where I've felt as though people think that I'm like more unapproachable than I am because of the way that I look, maybe the beard and possibly the brown skin and stuff like that. For some people that's like a little intimidating if you're not used to that. And I've always felt that you can break down barriers very quickly just by the way that you speak and you know what I mean, the way that you approach people. Like in primary school, it never really dawned on me. It never really struck a chord to me that it was anything about my identity, because I grew up with like people of all different faiths and stuff like that, like Sikh kids and Muslim kids and people from different backgrounds and stuff. So I never really like faced racism early on, and then when I got to secondary school, that's when people started to like, you know, I would get bullied for being like a Paki, of being brown, and then in my head I'd be like, well, I'm not a Paki, and then I was like, well, what am I? I'm Indian. I'm not like fully Indian. I'm fucking white, just like these kids. So that's when it started to like conflict in my head. It wasn't a conflict. It was just that I didn't know where I fit in that situation, because I'm like, my dad's as white as the kids who are bullying me, but they're treating me like I'm as dark as my mom. Do you know what I mean? I don't know a lot about being Asian. I don't know a lot about my own Indian roots as much as it's almost embarrassing to say, because a lot of people that I know who come from other cultures or who like are mixed race, for example, they're a lot more in touch with the other side of them. Like, I mean, I know, and that's even in the way that I'm speaking, I'm defining it as the other side, as though this is like my default side. But I'm like, I feel as though I'm way more in tune with living in England and the way that England is. And when I go to South Africa or I go to other countries, I get a culture shock, just because I'm not used to that. You know what I mean? Yeah, the South African community is of Indians is such a different world to, not obviously not completely different, it's connected, but it's quite a different world to, say for example, like immigrant Indians coming from India to this country, which I think, like, I mean, obviously there are like third generation people. A lot of the people who are fresh from India, I don't understand, because they'll ask me things and they'll ask me very specific things about my family or about where we're from, and I don't know the answers to that. So I think in some ways I don't resonate with them so heavily, which I'm sad about. Being Indian, immediately it seems like there is an exclusion from advertising. I don't ever really see Indian people in our advertising. Like you're saying, mixed race, generally associated with like African and white. As a mixed race Indian, I've never in my life seen anything that I feel is appealing directly to my kind of identity. I've never seen anyone in music either. Obviously in the West, I've never seen anyone in music who's Indian or who's mixed race in my kind of mixed race. The only person I can think of was Freddie Mercury. I tell a lie actually. I guess I've seen advertising that includes Indian people, generally quite stereotypical looking Sikh people with the turbans and stuff like that, and that in itself feels a little bit like they're trying to appeal directly to one stereotype, one community. Um, yeah, I've definitely never seen anyone that looks like me in advertising. But I think there's massive commonalities within people of different mixed races. If you look at the way that their communities work, like I think a lot of the time when you're an immigrant and you come to this country and you end up with a mixed race child or something, you have like a backdrop of support from the community a lot of the time, which is encouraging because like, you know what I mean? At one point, it might have been a situation where being mixed race meant that, in South Africa, for example, if you were mixed race and you were born mixed race, you were a crime. You were the product of a crime because a black woman and a white man should never be together in their laws. So to see now like support systems, meaning communities accepting and supporting mixed race children in London, that's a massive commonality that I love, and I'm so proud that. You know what I mean? Like, Britain as a whole, I'm sure, is very supportive of mixed race people. One everyday thing that every mixed race people can probably relate to is like, so where are you from? No, but like, where are you from? Like, I will say that I'm Indian, but I'm not fully Indian, I'm half white. And that's when they'll always go, that's it, that's what it is. And so I don't know, like, it conflicts me in the sense that like sometimes I don't know what to say. Sometimes I think like I could just shut my mouth and I could say no, I'm from London, you know, or I'm Indian. I could say that I'm Indian, but I'm not Indian. Like I said, that I don't sometimes relate fully to like immigrant Indians coming here and stuff. I wouldn't want to identify myself as Indian because I don't have the knowledge of their culture and I don't have the knowledge of, you know, that tradition. So I wouldn't want to place myself there, but I also don't want to place myself as English because I'm not fully English. I have what my mom gave me, you know what I mean? I'm a musician, so seeing the music that they create, completely different world of structures that they present, and without their traditions continuing on and developing it, we'd very quickly like, well, I mean obviously there are loads of different cultures that create loads of different music, but if it was all just Western pop music, we'd slowly go insane. You know what I mean? I think like carrying those traditions on is really important. Music, like from young, I was playing drums over the temple, so then that's quite a different style of drumming to traditional Western drumming. So bringing that into my more kind of conventional, like hip hoppy, jazzy kind of world, I think that is kind of a unique. That's where my two cultures mix. Because if it's not in my traditions, then it's in my music.